Hi, welcome to Suzanne Elizabeth's Kitchen. Today I'm going to be making chocolate chip cookies, and the first thing I want to start with is this is going to be a double batch, so everything is going to seem to be in very large quantities, but that's only because it's a double batch. Into my standing mixer, let's see if I can move that a bit. There you go. Into my standing mixer I have, this is my third stick of butter, and we're going to cream the butter with 1 cup of turbinado sugar, which is just the all-natural sugar, and 1 1/3 cups of dark brown sugar. I really love dark brown sugar. So that gets dumped in there. We're going to turn on our mixer, and we want that to get mixed together until it's light and fluffy. Now, what we can go ahead and do is throw in there, especially since this is a double batch, I'm going to add an entire tablespoon of vanilla. I love the taste of vanilla. I think it does a great thing for chocolate chip cookies. Then, once my butter and sugar have mixed together really well, what I'm going to do is add in 3 eggs. That's right, sounds like a lot. But in general, when you add an extra egg in, it helps to give whatever you're baking, to give it more of a cakey texture. So if you like your cookies with a cakey texture, add in 3 eggs for a double batch. If you don't want that, then just add in 2 eggs. That's fine. Now, while this is mixing together, what I want to do is mix together my dry ingredients. In here I have 2 cups of cake flour and 2 cups of bread flour. Now, I want to just say something quickly about flours. This particular recipe calls for both cake and bread flours. Sometimes you can use, it's perfectly fine to use all-purpose flour. It's perfectly fine to use whole wheat flour. A white whole wheat flour is really lovely. The point is that there is no such thing as the perfect chocolate chip cookie recipe. It's really what you find that you like over time. So please, I always say this with everything that I make, feel free to experiment and make the recipe your own. Now to this I'm adding 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 1/4 teaspoons of baking soda, which I just keep in this little ball jar, and then a teaspoon of salt. I never like to add too much salt to my ingredients. And then this is going to, you can see I'm just whisking the ingredients together. This is in lieu of sifting them. And this is just to make sure that all the different ingredients that we've added in our dry ingredients get well mixed together, so that when we add them to our wet ingredients, they're going to be all set. Now, before I add in my dry ingredients, I'm going to add in 2 little ingredients that might seem rather strange to you. One is a espresso powder, and how much you add is up to you. I'm going to add about 1/2 tablespoon. And these are just this and then cider vinegar. These are both things that just add another layer of flavor. I'm going to add in, again, about 1/2 tablespoon of the cider vinegar. Whoops, actually there's a tablespoon. No problem, this is a double recipe. I think I've heard 2 different theories on what the purpose of the apple cider vinegar is. One is that it helps to give you a softer cookie. The other theory I've heard is that it actually, with all the sugar and chocolate you've got in the recipe, that it really just helps to cut down on some of the sweetness, so that the sourness of the vinegar cuts through all that sugar that you have. You could also experiment with adding less sugar. So now, as you can see, I'm incorporating my dry ingredients. I'll turn my mixer back on low, just to get the butter and the flour going. And as you can see, I'm now pouring the rest in slowly, so that we don't have flour flying all over the kitchen. And it's now mixed together. As you can see, this big, lovely brown dough here is hanging off of the hook. Now, for the good stuff. In this enormous measuring cup, I mix together, I like to have 2 different kinds of chips in my chocolate chip cookies. I have a bag of Ghirardelli's milk chocolate chips and a bag of their bittersweet chocolate chips, so no semi-sweet at all. The bittersweet, sometimes if I'm really in the mood, I just go with just bittersweet chips and walnuts. I love that combination of the dark chocolate with walnuts. If you think bittersweet chocolate is too much, the milk chocolate chips, because they're so sweet, really cut the bitterness of the bittersweet chocolate chips. So you get a bite of each. So 1 bag of each of those, and probably a cup to a cup and a half of walnuts, which I love walnuts, and they're so good for you. So you don't have to feel guilty putting them in to your chocolate chip cookies. So there you go. I'm just dumping the whole thing in there. And I'm just going to mix this just enough to get these incorporated with the dough. And that's literally it. And that's all you have to do for chocolate chip cookies. Now, what I would suggest is, instead of putting these right into the oven, I would suggest you let this batter rest in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours, up to 24 hours, so that all the flavors meld together. When you are ready to bake them, just take your little ice cream scoop, and that's about the size that you want. And that's going to be the size of your cookie. That's going to give you a nice, healthy size cookie. And again, depending on whether you want a smaller cookie, a larger cookie, feel free to experiment. There are no rules in cooking other than logic, but it's really up to your taste. So feel free to experiment, play around, mix the flavors that you like, and most of all, enjoy the process of cooking. And when you're ready to bake these, the final step is, of course, bake them at 350 degrees for 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, depending on how big your cookies are. That's it. Enjoy your cookies, and I'll see you next time. Bye.